Okay, we're going to try this again. On to drawing number 2 now. All right, so here's the paper that shows us what the drawing is. Today we're drawing a sprocket. We're going to take some of the functions that we learned last time and build upon them. This actually looks like quite a complicated drawing, but it actually goes pretty fast once you do some of the layout work. So first things first, we're going to start with the sprocket itself. When we do the keyway detail is just a copy and a scale function. So we're just basically going to copy this keyway here, move it over, we'll scale it up. So pretty easy, straightforward. I'm going to get started. Kind of as we lay this thing out, our main, it's circular patterns. We've got a lot of diameters and radiuses listed here. A couple things. 1-inch bore, that's referring to the diameter of this center section. And so I'm going to go ahead and get started, lay out a few circles, and then we're going to see how this works with a bigger video screen. Okay, guys. First things first, we're going to select our circle function. Okay. First one we're going to do is we have the first circle is a 1-inch bore. So that's a diameter. I'm going to go ahead and switch these as we go. So got one. Okay, there's our first circle. I'm going to go ahead and use the wheel on my mouse to zoom in a little bit. If you guys are doing this with a touchpad and you want to zoom in, type zoom, hit enter, pull a box around what you want to zoom in on, it'll zoom you in. If for some reason you're using a mouse with a wheel and you get zoomed in a weird spot and you can't find your drawing, let me see if I can do it here. So can't find my drawing. You hit zoom and then you just type A for all, bring you back in on your drawing. So I'm going to go ahead and get zoomed back in like we were. Okay, now our next circle is going to be 2 inches in diameter. I'll select circle again just because I was messing with the zoom. Okay, we'll go to D, enter again. 2, enter. Okay, now our next two circles are given in radius. So we'll just go ahead and stick with that. You'll notice as I run the cursor up to the edge of the circle, there's a green circle that forms around the center of these circles. What that does is that means it snaps it so that all these circles have the same center point. So the first one we're going to do is a 2.041 radius. Enter. Now I'm going to hit enter again. That selects circle again for me. Come out here. We've got a 2.231 radius. Okay. So there's just kind of the basics of our drawing here. And what we're going to do is we're going to use a function called array. So the array function is right up here. And there's multiple different types of arrays. What we want to do is we want to use the polar array function. And yet again, as we do this, if we hold our cursor there, it will give us more information additionally about the array function. So we're going to go ahead and select I'm jumping ahead of myself here. We don't need the polar array yet, but that's the tool we're going to use. So kind of the first thing, I'm going to take and just draw a line up here. And why is my snap not working right? Okay, hang on just a second. I think I need this one on now. We'll get it here, guys. Polar tracking, there we go. So down here at the bottom, these keys at the bottom left, these have to do with how your snap functions are turned on. This polar tracking, it's kind of a circle with like a wedge in it showing an angle. That'll allow us to, we can see the green dotted line again when we're vertical. So we're just gonna, and then we have an X there, and that's basically where this line meets that outer circle. Okay, I'm gonna hit enter again. Got the single line there. So this Now we're going to go ahead and use the array function. First thing is we're going to select the line we just drew, hit enter. I'm going to select the point at which it's going to array, which is the center point. Okay, and now our array toolbar opens up on the top here. Okay, if we read on here, it says 17 tooth sprocket, okay? So we want 17 items here. We hit enter. Okay, and then we're going to hit the close array button here. And this gives us kind of our baseline for everything that we're going to do now. Okay, since we have this line here now, we can actually take and delete this outer circle. Okay, and then I'm going to do a trim here. This kind of ends up being the way that I like to draw this, and I find it pretty easy. So trim, we used that last time. Okay, so now we've got this line here. Okay, so if we look at the point of the tooth here, let's we're kind of at a point. Let's look at this drawing a little more. So if we look at this tooth here, look at the point right up here. The point's listed as 0.10 inches. Okay, so what we're going to do as part of this layout is actually we're going to take and draw that, put one in place, and then we're going to array it around there so that those are in place. And then it'll make it easier to draw the tooth, because we're just going to draw this single recess right here for this tooth, and then it'll be an angled line, a half circle, another angled line. We'll array that thing all the way around, and that will complete the sprocket. So what I'm going to do first is I'm going to draw this line that we need here at 0.10. Okay, I'm going to hit enter again. This line's pretty small, so what I would probably do now is zoom in. I'm going to zoom in on this area here. Okay, so now see the line's much better. Come up here, we're going to use the move function. I'm going to click move. We'll select the item, hit enter. Now for the base point, we want this thing centered on the line there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to type MID for mid. Now we have this triangle. That triangle denotes that we're now snapped at the true center of that line, the midpoint. So we'll move that down here, put that in place, okay? Now we'll zoom again to all. Oh, it kind of, so I'm going to just work my mouse here, get it in position. Okay, we're going to come back. We're going to use the array function a second time. Click on this little point, hit enter, select the center point. Again, we're going to select 17, hit enter. Okay, now we've got that done. Okay, so now we've got to create this tooth here, this recess between the teeth here. And to do so, we need to create this circle with a radius of 0.2345. So what we're going to do is we're going to select our circle function here. We're going to come over here. And again, we want it at the midpoint of this arc. So I'm going to type MID right here at the midpoint. This is given in radius. So we're just going to type 0.2345, hit enter. There it is. Okay, again, we're going to zoom so we can get the detail here, so we can see what we're doing here. Okay, so what we want to do is we're going to select a line now. I'm going to snap right here at the end point of that line. Come down here to this intersect, hit enter a second time. Do the same thing on the other side. Hit enter again. Now we can do a little bit of trimming. We'll use these lines here as our trim lines. Hit enter, trim that. Okay, we can also delete this line here. Okay, so now what we'll do is I'm going to zoom out. I'm going to use my mouse wheel here. Yet again, we're going to array those three pieces. We'll select the array function. Select our three parts here. Hit enter. It's going to be about the center. Number of items is going to be 17. Okay, I can go ahead. You can either click close array or I can just hit enter. I'm going to click close array here if it lets me. Okay, now this array here of these lines, we can actually do away with that now. So we're going to delete that. Now we have our sprocket pretty much done. The only thing is we have to draw the little keyway now. the little keyway that's given here in the detail. And one thing about this keyway, we're actually going to do this with the offset function. So let me show you guys a bigger picture. So this keyway here, the dimensions given from where it touches the edge of the circle, not from the center where it would touch at the very top of the circle. So this circle actually continues on. So from the top of the circle to the keyway is slightly less than the 0.125 that's given. I'm going to go over how to do this. Kind of end up doing some lines and some offsets kind of to lay it out, and then you actually draw the keyway itself and delete those layout lines you created. So let's do that now. Okay, again, let's shrink this down. Again, I'm going to zoom. This time I'm going to zoom in here on the center. That's what I need to work on. So we're going to take and create a line here. I'm just going to run this line up here a little ways. Okay, now we're going to use the offset function we used last time. Offset distance. So the distance is going to be half of 0.25. So again, I'm going to punish you with some math. So 0.125. Let's select the line. Go right, left, hit enter. Now I'll select the line function. I can start right here at this intersect, go up 0.125, enter, go across till I hit the other line on the right side, move down to the intersect again, hit enter. I can select these three lines that I created, hit delete, go back to our trim function, which you guys should be familiar with, hit enter, trim that out, okay. I will zoom out. I'm just going to use the mouse wheel now. Okay, now there's one last thing we need to do. So, and that is we need to copy this out of the circle over here and scale it up. So I'm going to select the copy function up here. Hit copy. Now I can just click on everything individually, which is probably the easiest in this instance. Okay, I'll hit enter. We'll use this as the base point. Okay. And then we're going to come up here and use the scale function. Okay. So scale is used to either shrink or enlarge objects. And the reason it's done in this drawing is just to show detail. We actually aren't going to be dimensioning this one, but if we were dimensioning it, we could use the dimensions to show detail of the keyway. And it would keep from, what it really does is it keeps from cluttering up the center of this drawing. We're going to select scale. We'll just drag a box around the item, hit enter. We'll use the center as the base point. And then scale factor of 2, hit enter. There we've created our scaled up detail of the keyway. Again, we're not going to dimension. Okay, let's go back to one other thing here. Last week, I talked about creating DXF files and about what we had to do to make the drawing so that we could cut it on the Torchmate. So again, we're going to do the join function, hit join. We're going to select our two arrays here. We'll hit enter. And it looks like it didn't want to join. Okay, this happens from time to time. So what we'll do is we'll do what's called an explode function. We'll explode these. That breaks everything all apart so that it's not all joined by the array now. So we should be able to get these to join. So I'm going to do join, hit enter. I'm just going to drag this across the whole drawing, hit enter. Okay. We'll hit enter again to join. Now we can start joining these pieces together. Occasionally, guys, when you're trying to do this and create these drawings to take into the Torchmate program and draw, occasionally there's little glitches like this. You just kind of learn to work through them. So now this is actually in a line type that we can take in now, and we can create a drawing or create this part now on Torchmate. Again, like I said last week, if you would like to learn how to do this, we'll be here this Saturday. About 10 o'clock seem to work pretty good. 10:30. I'll go over how to create the tool paths. If you were here last week, I'm actually gonna have you create your own tool path with your drawing. So please bring it on a flash drive, saved as a DXF, so that you can go through the creation of this drawing in Torchmate. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to save the drawing now that it's complete. So I'm going to go to Save As. I've created a file here on my desktop for AET, this AET 15, Spring 18. Okay, so I want to stick with my similar format. Okay, AET 15, CO1 is the section you're in, my name, and then assignment 2 or drawing 2 works. I'm actually going to save this as both file types. So first I'm going to save it here real quick as a DXF. So I have it to use for Torchmate. I'm going to hit Save As a second time. And now I'm going to select AutoCAD 2013. I'm going to save it as both. The reason why I save it as both is if you have to do any major edits to something you've drawn before you recut it, it's much easier to do them as a DWG file than trying to modify a DXF. DXFs can be a little bit finicky when you try and modify them. So there you go, guys. There's drawing number 2. I'm going to try and put up a discussion, group discussion board, not necessarily to have discussion posts, but I would like some feedback on what you guys think of the videos. And then also, hopefully you guys will do some interaction as far as creating these drawings and any issues you're having with the program. All right, guys. Thank you.